Master Assassin has returned with one of his worst ideas yet. He's going to start Assassin's Creed Valhalla from the beginning and see how far he can get into the game by staying in stealth and not being spotted. Seriously, this was a terrible idea, but you'll soon find out why as we embark on this adventure. So this is an idea I had for a while now, and not just specifically for Valhalla, but I thought it would be fun for all the AC games. I should have literally started with any other Assassin's Creed game though, because as I'm sure you know if you've played the game, Valhalla does not have a lot of emphasis or missions constructed for stealth, especially in the beginning. In fact, you can't assassinate anybody until almost an hour into the game when Basm gives you a hidden blade. On top of that, there are a lot of forced combat sections, again, especially at the beginning, where stealth isn't an option. So obviously those parts won't count as me getting spotted because the game is forcing me to be a Viking. Nonetheless, I was well aware of this starting this adventure, but I don't think I understood just the trials and tribulations I would go through. So naturally, like every playthrough, I started by creating a new game and selected Aesir as my combat difficulty, which wasn't really necessary since this video is all about stealth, but for some reason I thought that was a good idea, I don't know. And of course, I chose the difficulty named after myself for stealth. You know how it goes, we start as little baby Eivor, my dad tells me to give this strange trinket to the king and spout a bunch of nonsense. Oh hey mom, bye mom. Eivor somehow survives this wolf attack, boom, time jump, Eivor turns into Batman and takes care of his captor, and I'm finally given control. So in this beginning area, like I said, I cannot really kill anyone in stealth. I could use the bow, but there's no real point when I can just sneak past everyone. The game tried to tell me to fight, but I said no thank you, and continued on like a true assassin to the Longhouse. Once again, my plan here was to be smart and patient. Take things slow, there's no reason to kill anyone, and after all, if I'm spotted, this whole thing is over. And the only thing going through my head at this point is how embarrassing it would be if I got spotted in the first 20 minutes of the game, and people laughing at me and saying that I don't deserve the name Master Assassin. Well, I do deserve it. I made it into the Longhouse unseen, where unfortunately we run into our first forced combat encounter with this opening boss fight, so I have no choice but to fight. I was doing pretty well, but I was quickly reminded that I am in fact playing on Aesir difficulty, and the second I got this boss to his second phase with the hammers, the strikes were so fast I barely had any time to react, and they one-shot me every time. Now, being the stubborn person I am, I refuse to change the combat difficulty, even though it literally doesn't matter since this is supposed to be about stealth, and so I continue to die. And die. And die again. After about 15 minutes, I decided to set aside my pride for the sake of the video, and I was just itching to do some stealth. So I changed the difficulty back to default, easily destroyed the boss with my bow and arrow, and finally could get back to the purpose of the video. I stepped out of the Longhouse, ready to be an assassin, and then remembered that I have to go through another forced combat encounter. Fun fact, you can actually just easily run past all of these guys to your longship. The crew and I then set sail when one of my crew members recommended we raid this nearby island for some easy loot. I proceeded to tell him he was an idiot and that assassins don't go on raids. I finally made it back to Fornburg where I talked to Cassandra's clone, and I finally gained access to the skill tree. Except for some reason when you open the skill tree, it needs to highlight every single skill for like 10 minutes. If you've seen my video, AC Valhalla, but when I die the video ends, you'll know how I felt about this last time.
Flashback.
Okay, it's not letting me... Hello? Game? Hello? Is it seriously gonna make me wait? Okay, finally. Oh my lord. Well, I'm gonna leave real quick then while it does this. Just hurry up! However, this time I knew it was coming and I had matured. So rather than expressing my rage through my voice and screaming, I expressed it through my fists. Now that the game was finally done wasting my time and I had a new keyboard, I was finally ready to be an assassin. And courtesy of an update a couple of months ago, I got to cosplay as Ezio with his Assassin's Creed 2 robes. Things were finally looking up. But first I had to talk to Valka, who constantly gives me questionable substances, where I have a mind trip essentially foreshadowing the plot of the game. I returned to Fornburg, where my boy Sigurd had returned, and some fellow assassins to aid me on my quest. I can only imagine their confusion seeing a random Norwegian Viking wearing an Italian assassin robe whose original owner hadn't even been born yet. Anyways, now that the assassins were here, we could finally get into assassin act, except not, because the king is being a peace-abiding coward who doesn't want us to have any fun. Sigurd goes on about his tales from wherever he went. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention because I was enjoying this bread, when suddenly this random woman sits next to me. But I'm a loyal man and remembered Sophia, so I stood up and left immediately. Although I am wearing the AC2 robes, so perhaps it's Katrina. Whatever, the details aren't important, for I am no longer Eivor, but in fact, the Walmart Ezio. And finally, over an hour into the game, I get my hidden blade. Hytham's not too pleased about it, but he sucks at being an assassin, so I don't care. Why was Hytham named after this guy? But anyways, we head out to learn the ways of assassination. And who would have thought my first stealth kill would come in over an hour into the game and it would be a training dummy. However, I think the game started to notice I was having fun being an assassin, because once I went into the haystack, it would not let me get out. So, after reloading the game, I spotted some sneaky spies trying to infiltrate our camp, where I finally got some real stealth action. There were only 3 guys, so I dealt with them quite easily, and then I went to let the boys know what was up. We then headed out to raid and pillage one of Kjotve's settlements. I wasn't sure if it would let me do this stealthily, but if you just get off the longship nearby and don't initiate a raid, you can actually do this in stealth. However, this is a massive area to cover stealthily, and I had to destroy the supply wagons without being seen. So again, my strategy was to play nice and slow, use the bushes and whistle mechanic to my advantage, because you can just abuse it without the risk of being detected. Luckily, for some reason, there were very conveniently placed explosive barrels right next to the supply wagons, so I shot those from a safe distance and even used them to take out a couple of guards. This was probably the most fun I had on this playthrough, and by far one of the cleanest and most efficient raids I've done on this game. Anyways, blah blah blah, the story continues. This king guy is like, yo, I'll help you destroy Kjotve's clan, and Ezio prepares to get his revenge on Rodrigo Borgia via a holmgang in Norway. Let's call it an alternate ending for AC2. Unfortunately, the game once again forces me into a boss fight. Hytham gets thrown into a wall because he's a terrible assassin, and this game doesn't understand how physics work. And I get my revenge, Odin does some cool stuff with trees, and the game forces me to be a Viking again as we raid the rest of the fortress. Like a true assassin, I just run right past everybody, and Cesare Borgia, the coward, flees from Ezio. Ezio and Federico celebrate their victory, and Mario Auditore then teaches me the ways of the assassins and social stealth, which I would then use to assassinate Cesare since he thinks the peace treaty will protect him. Well, it turns out peace is boring, so I kill one of Cesare's henchmen and confront him. He's so ugly, Ezio decides to punch him in the face, and then for some reason suddenly has a change of heart about killing Cesare, even though that's the whole reason we're here and I already killed a guard outside. I think being in Norway and living amongst Vikings has made Ezio just a little bit crazy. Our lame, peace-abiding king decides to bend the knee and serve a new king. Ezio and Federico aren't very happy about this, so we decide to round up the people of Monteregione and move to England. At this point, we're almost 2 hours in, and I still haven't had many stealth opportunities. But things were about to change, because in England, I could assassinate whomever I wanted. But then Desmond steps out of the Animus. We say what's up to some old friends, Sean and Rebecca. Ironically, the only characters that are actually from the Ezio trilogy in this game. We see Ezio's corpse, and I just want to do some stealth, so I go back into the Animus. We finally arrive in England, where I come across another stealth opportunity. Now, to be honest, at this point, we're over 2 hours in, and I was worried that at the current pace and lack of stealth opportunities, it would be like 20 hours before I got spotted. But if that's how long it took, so be it, because on my integrity as an assassin, I couldn't allow myself to be spotted. I infiltrated the camp, got into this bush, and pause. Now I know what you're thinking. Master Assassin, why would you pause here? Well, what if I told you this was the exact moment everything went wrong? See, to fully understand this moment, you need to understand what I was thinking and my strategy. And to understand that, we need to go back to earlier. Like I said, if you recall from earlier, my strategy for not being spotted in this game was to be patient, take things slow, and use the bushes to my advantage. I did it so many times before. It's an easy way to assassinate an enemy without anyone around being none the wiser. So this is exactly what I plan to do at this moment, like I had done dozens of times previously. In fact, I was so sure I had secured this assassination, I was so positive I had it in the bag that I had already begun to think about my next move and who to target next. But what I failed to consider in the heat of the moment was that the target in front of me is sitting down. He probably had spent all day walking around, his feet hurt and his legs were tired, so he thought, hey, let me take a quick rest and sit down on this rock. I didn't think anything of this. I expected Ezio to drag him into the bush and assassinate him. Again, like I did plenty of times before, but instead, what happened is I got a completely different animation than what I intended. And ladies and gentlemen, this animation was my downfall. That's right, after all my endless struggle, after how I patiently and eagerly awaited the next stealth section, after going undetected for nearly 2.5 hours, what ultimately ended this adventure was that this one AI had decided to sit down. I was in shock. I could not believe it. I went through the stages of grief. At first, I didn't want to believe what just happened. I couldn't believe this is how my stealth adventure ends. Then I was angry. I thought, well, why does it matter if he's sitting down? I'm in the bush. Why doesn't Ezio just drag him into the bush to assassinate him anyway? Why is there no animation to cover assassinate someone who's sitting down? It wasn't fair. To take out my rage, I took care of the rest of the guards, but it didn't matter. It was over. My journey ended before it ever even really got to begin, despite playing for over 2.5 hours. I was heartbroken. I suppose as a master assassin I should have known, but that's just how it is. I was spotted and the adventure was over.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me.
On a serious note here, guys, this video was actually a lot of fun to make. This probably was not the best Assassin's Creed game for trying to be stealthy and go as long as you can without being spotted, so I hope to do this kind of video for other games in the series as well. If you enjoyed this and would like to see that, please let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate the support, everybody. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.
Oh, all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I've loved, they'd wished me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should Good night and joy.